This is my blueberry Bakewell tart with raspberry Chantilly cream.
You will need, for the short crust pastry, plain flour, butter, water. And for the filling, blueberry jam, blueberries, almonds, flour, butter, ground almonds, golden caster sugar, and eggs. And for the Chantilly cream, pureed raspberries with jam, vanilla pod, icing sugar, and double cream. So let's start with a short crust pastry. And into a food processor, I'm going to put 225 grams of plain flour. Add a pinch of salt, and then quickly process just to get rid of any lumps and get some air into it. Next, I'm going to add 130 grams of butter. Now, I'm using chilled butter because when mixed with the flour, it will combine and make a breadcrumb consistency. And with soft butter, it will just make a mush. Take some water, just going to add a little bit, and mix. Just so it comes together and forms a ball. And that's perfect. Now, the pastry's made, but it's still too soft to roll. So you need to pop it into the fridge for about an hour just to firm up and chill. So here's a pastry that's been chilled and firmed up, and this is going to make it really easy to roll. When rolling your short crust, the secret is to get it quite thin, because it can tend to puff up a little bit when cooking. Now, I've got a nice tart ring here, and I'm not going to need to butter it or grease it because it's non-stick. So just take your rolling pin, simply fold over, and just let it fall into it. And it's really important just to push into the corners, just to make sure there's no gaps between the corners. This is going to ensure even cooking throughout. And I'm now going to rest it in the fridge for about 10 to 15 minutes just to firm up. So the pastry is rested, now it's ready for blind baking. So take a tray, and in a bowl, I've got some baking beans and some greaseproof paper. And the beans are going to weigh down the pastry and the sides, so when it bakes, you keep the tin shape. Now, I'm going to bake it in an oven at 180 degrees Celsius or 360 degrees Fahrenheit for 25 minutes. So the pastry's cooked, but still a little bit soft. So what I'm going to do now is brush it with egg yolk. And what this is going to do is help seal the pastry and give it a lovely biscuit-like crunch finish. And then return to the oven for another 10 minutes. So that's it ready from the oven. And that's perfect. So now we can start on the filling. We're going to start with the butter, about 100 grams, and 225 grams of golden caster sugar. Now, this is a lot of sugar to butter, but I do want this to be very sweet. Now, I'm using softened butter, just so it mixes more quickly with the sugar. Next, I'm going to add the eggs. In a bowl, crack 3 eggs and 1 egg yolk. And the yolk is going to give it even more richness. Then once the flour and eggs are combined, slowly start to add your ground almonds, just for that Bakewell flavour. And then that's the mix made, and as you can see, it's a dropping consistency. So it's actually more like a batter. So we're nearly ready to fill the pastry. I'm going to be filling it with not raspberry, but blueberry jam. And I've got this lovely wild blueberry here. I just think using blueberry jam just gives it a totally different taste altogether. So now we can add the filling. Just start pouring in, making sure it's covered all the way over, just smooth off a little bit. Now we're nearly there, but what I want to do is add even more blueberry taste to it. So take a handful of fresh blueberries, and I'm just going to sprinkle over, just drop in. And as these cook and heat up, they're almost going to burst. So when you bite through it, you get a sudden hit of blueberry. And then last of all, have a nice sprinkle of flaked almonds. And that looks lovely. And all I've got to do now is put it in an oven for about 40 to 45 minutes at 180 degrees Celsius or 360 degrees Fahrenheit. Now that's fresh from the oven, and it's lovely. So we've got to let it rest for about, say, 15 to 20 minutes. So the Bakewell resting on the side, let's start on the Chantilly cream, which is basically thickened, sweetened and flavoured cream. Going to get nice and thick. Add some ice and sugar and just keep whisking. And then last of all, I'm going to add the seeds of a vanilla pod. And then when the cream just starts to hold a peak, like so, it's ready. And that's a basic Chantilly cream. But for the Bakewell, I think I need a little bit of raspberry in there. And this is a mix of fresh raspberries that I've strained, reduced a bit, and then added to raspberry jam. But if at home, it's just fine to use strained raspberry jam. And just cut through a few times, creating almost like a raspberry ripple effect. OK, we're now ready to serve. Take a nice serving, it's quite a big portion, and just going to lay that there. Look at that. And last of all, some of this lovely cream. I'm just going to spoon in, and there it is. And now doesn't that look nice? Because it's still warm, it makes such a difference, and you cut through and you'll hear the crunch of the pastry. And this cream on top tastes so good, and the blueberries just ooze all through it. And it's lovely sweet cream, perfect for afternoon tea. This is what you have. And you've got a lovely, thick, reduced tomato sauce. It's going to be perfect for our pizza dinner party. And along with the rum and raisin apples, just works so well.